One of the things that you never ever want to experience as a parent is that phone call. What phone call? That phone call when you hear from your child and you can hear it in their voice, you can hear that something is wrong. My oldest son called me a couple of months ago. And as he told me the story of him driving down the street in his neighborhood, he explained it wasn't fireworks, okay, because the holiday's coming up. It wasn't that. He explained to me that he was in the middle of a shootout. So he talked about having to race his car, go through the traffic light, and speed away because he was afraid for his life. Oh my gosh, I was trembling when I heard his story. Listen, this is Anne Marie, host of About This Life. About This Life is an opportunity to talk with people from all walks of life to understand some of the challenges and the struggles that they've been through. And once we find out how is it they made it from that struggle and made it to a successful period in your life, how do they do that? That's what we want to. So I am so very happy and pleased to have Dwayne Morton on the show today. Hey, Dwayne, how are you?
Hey, Anne-Marie, I'm looking forward to this. Thank you so much for having me on your show. But I just want to thank the listeners. I think time is the most valuable commodity out there. So therefore, when someone gives me their time, whether they're listening to it in the morning, the afternoon, or at night, I just want to express gratitude for them being able to do that and for you to share, let me share my story on your platform.
Oh, absolutely. It is my pleasure. And I want to thank you for accepting the invitation because you and I just met about a month ago or it was several weeks ago. So this is fresh for us and I appreciate you. And when I heard part of your story, I'm like, yeah, I need that guy. First of all, basketball. Basketball is one of the loves of your life and we'll get into that. But you are also an author, and I want to look at my notes so I get the title correct. The Bounce Back Blueprint Become Bulletproof. You are also a podcaster, and your shirt says it all. Show up. Show up to what's the last word?
Show up to win.
Show up to win. Get that W. Get that W. Oh my goodness. I understand, Dwayne. You have had a car experience. What happened to you and your niece? Take us back.
Yeah, so it's actually 3 years ago, on May 16th, 2022. It was a bright, sunny day. It was just a gorgeous day. And so I actually was dealing with a health issue. And so that day, I actually got a really uh, a good appointment, a good doctor visit. And so I was just like, hey, I'm going to take my niece to get some ice cream. And so
Mm.
by doing that, I kind of put us in a bad situation. And when I say that, I believe in taking ownership when you're able to take your ownership. And so if I would have went right and got the ice cream first, we wouldn't have went through what we had to go through. But I decided to go straight, and so I take the ownership of going straight. We went to the bank first, and so what happened was, as I was driving by after I got finished going to the bank, um, a criminal was detained in handcuffs. He had a hidden gun. He took the hidden gun out, shot a police officer. This was right in front of the police station,
Wow.
and through that there was a police shootout. A stray bullet hit the truck that I was driving, and if it would have been an eighth of an inch to the left, it kills me. An eighth of an inch to the right, it hits my 3 year old niece that was in the back seat. So, as anyone who, an aunt, an uncle, a parent, we're the protector. So that was one of the biggest things for me to have to overcome was I had my niece that was in harm's way. And so through that, I was dealing with PTSD and survivor's guilt. Um, that lasted,
Not, not,
until
but
go.
I want to interrupt you for a moment, Dwayne, because first of all, we need to take a breath here.
Yeah,
We need to breathe right in this moment because what I hear you saying, similar to the experience that my son had, and I kid you not, it's a real experience that he went through. It so happens that when I was reading your bio, I said, "Oh my God." This resonates with me because of the experience you just shared. What did it feel like in your body to be in danger? And when you I mean, after you heard the shot went through your truck. Did you drive a ways down the road or did you stop? What happened next?
Yeah, so let me explain. I was driving down the road. I was going about 45 mile an hour. Um, the other thing is so the bullet hit the C pillar on the truck, which is about the only place on the truck that was strong enough to withhold a bullet. So when we watch movies and TV shows, they show, where bullets like hit the truck and they like
Right.
bounce off. Yeah, that's not realistic. Most of these newer vehicles, they're full of fiberglass. So just to give your audience and yourself a better idea is where the roof and the bed of the truck meet, there's a C pillar. And that piece of metal is what actually the bullet hit. And that's why I said like it's an eighth of an inch. It misses the C pillar and it hits me. If it goes to the right, it hits the other part, maybe hits the C pillar, the but more than likely it hits my niece. And so that's
So, so what I hear you saying, Dwayne, first of all, is that you're a miracle and your niece
yeah.
is a miracle because you're still here. And you kept driving after it happened, or did you circle back? Or did the police catch? Well, he was already, in handcuffs. So, what happened after the bullet was shot?
Yeah, so what happened was there was one bullet where the criminal shot the so there was multiple shots. So it wasn't just one, and there was
Okay.
multiple shots. Where they came from, I'm not sure. I just know we drove through it. Um, and as I heard one, and I was just driving, and then I heard more, and then I heard a ping, which just so happened to be the bullet that hit the truck. But I also heard other shots too. So where those bullets went, I'm not sure. Um, I probably drove 400 or 500 feet, maybe more, to get out of to safety. There's a car dealership that's near. I parked the truck there, and I got out. So here's the thing: is when we're going through things, and I've been in high pressure moments with sports, so it was like I just was more focused on, hey, let's get to safety. I don't know what's going on, right? So there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different variables, but I wasn't concerned about the variables. I was concerned about the safety of myself and my niece, and her more than me. So when I got out of the truck, my first thought was to look down. So I looked down and I scanned the whole truck and I walked by and I was like, okay. I actually even got down on my uh, hands and knees because I thought, hey, it probably hit the undercarriage. And then when I saw the bullet hole where it was head
Yeah.
high, it was a little different. And then that kind of hit me. And so one of the things that I did was I knew from basketball, I needed to control my breath. So I knew, hey, I needed to control my heartbeat. So I need to control my breath. So I took a few seconds to compose myself because I have a 3-year-old in the back seat. So
And
I
you have
need
to
to make
stay calm for her.
exactly.
So you had this is one of the strategies you use for self-regulation. Before we talk about breath, and I want to learn more about your international game and playing basketball. But before we go there, there's this whole notion that like you take ownership for it, okay? Because if you weren't going for ice cream, Dwayne. Life is a series of coincidences sometimes. You didn't do anything wrong.
No, so one of the things with my mindset is um take ownership of what you can control. Control what you can control, and whatever you're not able to control, then that's
Hmm.
not up to you, right? And so for me, that's the best way for me to give myself self compassion, forgiveness, is to be able to just say, hey, look, if I would have went this way, this wouldn't have happened. But I did. My choice was this, and I'm fine with that choice. But I have to take ownership, and a lot of people, they don't take ownership for a lot of things. And for me, it was something that was instilled in me, is just take the ownership of what you can control. What you can't control, then let it go. And sometimes I've done really well with that type of mindset
Yeah.
growing up, and then there's sometimes I didn't. But you know,
Yeah.
as
I'm going to take some creative license and say, let's give the ownership to God."
yeah,
Because you're going for ice cream. You're going for ice cream. It's a beautiful thing to want to do for a 3-year-old niece. So we take ownership for our mistakes. We take ownership for the decisions we make in our lifetimes, that puts us on a trajectory that may lead to positive and negative consequences. But I am so grateful you and your niece are great. And one of the things that you were speaking about, Dwayne, is you were talking about basketball. And I had a chance to read a little bit of your book. And once again, for our listeners, The Bounce Back Blueprint, Become Bulletproof. And that is this thing about the basketball being a rhythm. So, talk to us about the rhythm first, and then talk to us about this breath, the breath you used in that moment and what you use every day.
yeah. So I mean, like, one of the things with basketball is it has a rhythm when you dribble in it, especially as a little kid. There was just that, like, where you would count at one, two, or whatever, and then
Hmm.
it got to later on when I started getting a lot more, getting what people are talking about, handles and having a ball on a string and like doing tricks and that type of stuff. I
Okay.
would always listen. So I'm a big hip hop like fan. So I would listen to
Woo!
like different like songs growing up. So like when I was a kid, I was introduced to hip hop as like Houdini, 5 minutes of funk. And so a lot of times I'll get into those type of beats and stuff, and I'll dribble the basketball. Same thing whenever I'm practicing in my drills. I do it to a certain type of rhythm. I do it to a certain song, because guess what? The defender doesn't know that in the game. And
Ooh,
so that's
that's the
one of the,
secret sauce right there. Okay. So you would have a certain song in your brain, and you're thinking about a certain beat, and that's how you're dribbling. Oh my
yes.
gosh, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, and I mean, 5 minutes of funk was one of the first ones. Later on, it moved to like all these different people, from Public Enemy to, LL Cool J to, I mean, I'm a huge hip hop connoisseur, so like I
Yes,
love it
ladies
all.
love LL Cool J.
Right. But I'm just saying, it like whatever fit was the point, was like, from Dr. Dre, it's different rhythms for different purposes. And so whenever I felt like the defender had me at this, then I would go to something else and I would think of a new track on my song. One of my friends thought I was whistling, and he was like, "You look like you're just whistling." Well, I didn't want to say, "Hey, I'm sitting here listening to a song in my head, like I'm playing to a beat, playing to an instrumental in my head." And like, I think that's important, is to have that other fun aspect of anything. While other people are playing checkers, I'm playing chess on the basketball court. And so that was the beautiful thing about it. So that's the rhythm part. Is everything
So
has to have a rhythm.
you're blowing my mind, because I'm thinking, I'm having this image that's formulated, and I could see Dwayne on the court, and like, the song might change up depending, were you defense or offense? Am I mixing my metaphors? I'm thinking about football, but basketball.
No, so
So
like you have to play both. You have to play
yeah,
offense and defense. So like with
right.
football, people sub in and out most of the time if you get
Gotcha.
to hire. Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't the greatest defensive player, but what I did was, I knew what my strengths were. I played to my strengths. And so that's the thing, is I would allow, I think when you get into gamesmanship, and you get into the psychological aspect of sports, you have to play to your strengths. You have to play to their strengths because you got to know what, but you also want to play to their weaknesses. And so that it's just one of those things. Like, I want you to take a certain type of shot. I want you to take a certain type of shot from a certain distance. And now, these things change up all the time too. So like strategies and all that. And so,
Yes.
but the core principle was I always would play to like a track. I would always, like, when I was on the court, there was always a track in my head. That was the secret.
I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And you're describing this reminds me of chess that you mentioned, because when you play chess, you are anticipating what your opponent is going to do. And so when you play chess, you're two or three, space it moves ahead, because if they do this, then I'm going to do that. It's like a cause and effect scenario. Connect the dots for us between dribbling the ball. You have this rhythm going on with the song, hip hop of all the genres, and connect the dots with breath.
Yeah.
Help,
So I
help
think
us
they,
see that.
so one of the things is I want to tell people is, like, I grew up in a very small town in rural Kentucky. So like,
Okay.
you would not expect me to like grew up with hip hop, but I had a couple of relatives that brought it into my attention and I fell in love. The other aspect is when you get into rhythm and you get into like breath, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with your heart. There's a rhythm to it. It's about
Yes.
just being aware. That's the thing. And so when you're able to be aware of your breath and be able to realize I can control my breath. I can control the count. There's all these things that when you look into the number part, but what it does is it calms down your nervous system by being able to control it and say, hey, I'm in control. My mind is in control of this. But I like to look at it this way. And this is where I feel gratitude should be.
Hmm.
I am not the same person per breath and per heartbeat. I'm a brand new person. That person passes away and this other person reemerges, because guess what? We're always evolving. And so when you look at it from that gratitude aspect, that is the other part of the secret sauce, is I am a new person every breath and every heartbeat. For me, it was very freeing. Also, when I was dealing with all the trauma stuff, and that's what the book is about. The book is about me going through the things that I went through with, I'm given the healing modalities that I used. But Anne Marie, I didn't know all the science behind it. I just knew I did it and I knew it worked. But the one thing I will say is, through the hiccups of like going through things, I
Hmm.
still was, I knew certain things that I just knew. My intuition was like, why does this work? I don't know, but I'm doing it. I just apply. I don't know.
You just know that it does. So walk us through. And for transparency, one of my previous guests, we talked about breath before. So there's definitely, for our listeners, neuroscience about it. And I can tell you it works. I've used it in the classroom. But I want to get your take on it, Dwayne, because you were able to use breath in the scenario that we started with. When you breathe, and just now you said you're a new person. So when you breathe in, is it that you're giving affirmations? Are you telling yourself something? Are you counting? Are you looking for rhythm? Or unpack it for us.
Yeah, so this is pretty much new, the science part of it, and me being
Mm-hmm.
able to explain the application, all of it. And the reason I'm saying all of it is the same way that I learned with basketball with visualization. It gives you confidence and experience. Same thing. When I'm able to control my breath, I'm able to control the things that I can control. And it gives you into that confidence, but it gives you into that flow. I'm able to, okay, I'm able to take a breath. I'm able to hold for 4 counts. I'm able to release it in 8. Also, I'm a big math person, so I'm a big number nerd. So it, for me, it was very calming. Also, when you breathe and you're counting, you're not thinking about the situation, whatever you're going through. And so that's the beautiful part. And so I learned in little league. You know, when you're going through and you're shooting a free throw, to take a deep breath. That's it. And so I just applied it and I learned different aspects of this breathing. And then finally, I met a breathwork teacher and a breathwork influencer, and they helped me and gave me more of the science part. But they also gave me different things and said, well, if this works for you, you should do this, right? And that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about our journey. We don't know who we're going to cross paths with. For
Yes.
me, I've just been very fortunate. I've crossed paths with some experts. And so that's rubbed off on me.
You've had experts in a multiplicity of ways because you have experts who help you in this part of the journey. But where did you play basketball? I understand you're international players. So what are some of the countries? What country did you play?
Yeah, so the countries that we played in was I was in Chile, I was in Peru, I was in Paraguay, I was in Argentina and Brazil, and I love Brazil and Argentina. Those were my two favorite countries. And because I love Brazil so much, like I love Brazilian soccer or football. So that's another part. Um, but you know, for me, it was the basketball part has this weird curve. Um, I actually quit basketball my junior year of high school. So I didn't play my last 2 years of high school. But there was some intuition part of me of just knowing I was going to play past high school. And so I just kept staying and I kept staying doing the drills, but because of the organization part fell apart, I got to fall back in love with basketball and I got better. And so that's the other part of this. And then I got an opportunity. I made the best opportunity. And then next thing you know, I'm flying back home with an agent and the other part of this basketball journey is I hurt my knee
Yes.
before I actually got to go and play. Yeah. So, I mean, and this is also
Okay,
another
what
part
part
of
of
my
the
life is these
knee?
challenges.
That resonates with me. What part of the knee?
So I tore my meniscus, and so when you have a repair, they tighten it and then it loosens up. Mine never loosened up, and so I was very fortunate. The doctor that I was talking to, she said, "Listen," she goes, "I can probably give you 2 to 4 years." She's like, "But you're probably going to need a knee replacement later on in your early 30s." And to me, that math didn't just math. And I was like, I'm like, I feel like I've hit my ceiling almost, and I was ready to do life. And so that was the other part was it was like I knew something else was out there for me.
Absolutely. Um, I can relay. I had torn meniscus, anterior and on both sides, the interior and the exterior. And when they were trying to replace it, I said, you might as well just give me a total knee. So I had to go back a second time to finally, get the total knee replacement because I'm like, look, what you're doing is not going to help because it literally keeps the bottom part of your leg attached to the top. And if that goes, you literally have no control. There's that word again, control. You have no control over your ability to walk. So, as an athlete playing international ball, how did you cope? Because
It's a it's a great
yeah,
question.
how did you cope?
I think the thing is I knew that I had hit that ceiling. I knew I wasn't going to the NBA. I knew that I felt like I had already overcame what I thought where I was
Mhm.
going to be. I think that was the other part. I what she told me was like, "Hey, you can still play basketball. You still can do this." She's like, "You just don't need to do this every day. You don't need to do this like with the type of intensity that you are playing with." And so I think that's the other part is that I was like, I was okay with it. And I hear athletes all the time. I have friends that have played professional. They come home and they're just like,
Mhm.
I'm so I'm distraught. Like I can't do this. And I was like, dude, there's so much more to life than just sports or basketball. Like there is so much more. Like for me, I knew, hey, I grew up in a small business household, so I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. There was all these things that I felt like I wanted to do. Another thing was back then I wanted to own a music studio. I wanted to go
Okay.
find those people. I wanted to go find those people that, were great singers and were different friends of mine. It just didn't work out because God had a whole different plan for me. And so that's the thing. I feel when it goes into basically we have to realize that when things don't work out well for us, we're
Hmm.
probably out of alignment. And and it doesn't mean that like this is bad or this is toxic. It just means we weren't aligned with it. It's actually just a way to guide us to the right path. And so for me, is like I was told I would be a great speaker at 20. And I was like, nah, I'm a basketball player. No, I want to do some job. Like, I
Hmm.
did not want to be a speaker. And look where I have. That whole circle came back around. And now,
The
I
full
speak.
circle.
Yes.
So sometimes when things happen to us, some people think it's a travesty, but in reality, it's a realignment. And so you could have been devastated, but you were not because you had, sounds like you have a firm foundation, found faith, gratitude, and gratefulness. How do you carry that throughout your life? How do you show up in a state of gratitude?
Great question. For me, my foundation of gratitude happened when I was overseas at 19. I met a young boy who was 5 years old, had not eaten in 3 days. And through that process, whether it was through guilt or shame of having enough my whole entire life, I never had to worry about food, water, or shelter. The three essential items I didn't have to worry about. And
Hmm.
so I realized at that point, other people had it worse, which I like to say our nightmares are just other people's dreams. And when you look at
Yes.
that, how do you not look at that with gratitude? And so that's the thing, Anne-Marie, is that I keep thinking of the things that I have every day. I wake up every day and I just say, thank God for giving me this day because there's so many people that don't get it. And when
Yeah.
you're able to live in that state of gratitude, things are so much easier. And, there's years where I wasn't happy and all those things, but I was still grateful. And I think that's the number one challenge that I tell everyone is
Hmm.
just figure out what you can be grateful for because someone else doesn't have it.
And be grateful each and every day. You talk about it in your book in terms of energy and leveling up the energy in your life. Okay, so it's not just recognizing that, okay, I have some blessings that maybe somebody else doesn't have, but the gratitude inside of you, how does that level up your energy?
So it levels up your energy, but what it does is you're vibrating at a different level. And so when you're
Mhm.
able to vibrate at a different level, you're attracting other people at a different level or someone on your level. The problem is when we get into those levels where we vibrate low, when we're in shame, guilt, um, being upset, being mad, right? Then we're at a lower vibration. And so that's what we attract. But, and this is just quantum physics. Like, and
Right.
that's the thing is, this isn't like woo woo. This is actually just pure science.
Yes.
It's just right now, people have just, they still haven't realized that this is science. Same thing. So, like, when I am attracting people like you and stuff like that, my vibration has to be at a certain level to attract someone that is on your level to be able to say, "Oh, I want Dwayne on my show." Same thing with me when I see other people and I want them on my show. It's because we're vibrating high. And so, what I want to do every day is
Hmm.
to no, I won't shelter. I shield my vibration more and more and more each day because I realize how important it is. And so when you're able
Yeah.
to do that, then you realize, oh, this is the other part of the secret sauce of how other people are able to, when you go to a restaurant, you just meet somebody and you're just like, oh, that was kind of strange. How did I meet this person? We just had the same
Hmm.
thing. I think it's one of the great life wonders. It's a great way to guide yourself through the journey when you're able to attract certain people and they're able to get you through the whole, they give you a different perspective.
And I want to show the application of this because you mentioned, about being on the show. When I listen to you And I listened to you talk about the energy, and I listened to you talk about gratitude. That is what we are calling vibration. Because when you hear someone speak and it resonates with you, then you're connected. There's a light, there's an energy that goes around it. And that is what we're describing. And the opposite is true because, you've been around people who all they do is complain all the time. And it's misery loves company. And so at a certain point, you have to let go of the complaints. When you replace it with gratitude, as you have, there's a mindset shift that has happened to you. There's someone, Melvin Turner Sr. You mentioned him. How did Melvin Turner Sr. impact your life, Dwayne?
Yeah, so Melvin Turner Sr. is my number one mentor. He passed away in February. He didn't get to see the all the growth. I know he's with me right now. He he gave me an opportunity to learn from someone who was mentored by Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's my favorite motivational speaker, but what Jim Rohn also is like Jim Rohn was someone that I knew when he said that name. I knew, hey, I wanted to listen to this person. But what I didn't realize until a couple of weeks later, Jim was mentored by Melvin Turner Sr. in public speaking. And so
Oh,
that's when it was like, oh, wow, like this guy that I look up to, like my friend helped mentoring. And I think that was the other part. So what Melvin told me to do when I was dealing with being diagnosed and sick, I was really struggling with the fact that I was meeting some really great people, but the opportunity I wasn't able to do much with it. And so Melvin always told me, he said, control your attitude because attitude controls your altitude. And so
yes, yes.
and so he was a big attitude person, and so he always was just like he would call me every week and he would just tell me, he said, how's your attitude? He's like, how are you doing, young man? He always called me young man. He was like, young man, how are you doing? But he would always tell me this one part. And he said, I don't know how everything works out for you. He's like, but I see you have a bigger picture. He was like, whatever you're dealing with the sickness, he's like, I see later on that you're going to overcome it. How
Mm.
prophetic is it with when I found out last year on March 8th that I was misdiagnosed for all those
Hmm.
years? And he had told me that, but he was like, I don't know how to tell you how all that stuff. So, but Melvin Turner Sr., he was a big basketball fan. He played basketball. He played with some really great players. His brother was drafted by the Chicago Bulls and played with Michael Jordan for a year. His brother right now is assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, so all these things with basketball, they all align. That's the thing is we never know when we just meet the right people and everything lines up. But God bless that guy's soul, man. I miss that guy so much, and I wish he could
Yes,
see everything. Like I wish I could just like give him a hug and be like, "Look what happens when I got healthy." Like I told you, right? And he believed
yeah.
me, but and I know he's here with me in spirit. That's the other part. But there's just that one part of like in my heart, I just wish I could tell him, "Hey, this is what I was able to do when I eventually got healthy."
I think he hears you. I think he hears you. What I hear you saying is it's a beautiful thing for us to have mentors in our life because our mentors can see things that we have not yet seen, and they can speak life into you. There's a connection. You have become the manifestation of his vision. And I have to believe that we are connected here on earth with the spiritual, with the people who have gone before and prepared the way for us. So God bless them. And I am in awe that what you are doing now, in essence, is in tribute to him. So how wonderful is that? And you are using your voice to make an impact. Who do you want to impact? You have this Show Up to Win podcast. You have a book out. Do you have coaching? Tell us, what is your move right now? What moves are you making right now?
So that's a great question. So there's an entrepreneur side of me where I'm working with a company that does 3D events, but on the the virtual space. So there's the that part, which I'm very fortunate to be able to have. Then there's the other part where it's the coaching, the mindset, the resilience coach. So also I coach elite athletes. I have 3 athletes right now. So I have that part. I want to build a community, Anne Marie, so I can go 1 or 2 times in the on over on Zoom or some platform, get a group of people, a community, and just say, "Hey, how can I help you?" They tell me their issue, and I believe it's not selfish, but it's for a great purpose to keep me consistent. But to keep me consistent, it keeps the community consistent, and the community is able to support each other. And so that's the thing is like they're able to come in, give me their questions. I'm able to help them facilitate the answers and the lessons, and then eventually have videos in the back where I'll be able to direct them to. So that's one part. The book part, I'll be honest. I thought this was going to be later down the road. Um, the book that I put out, I put it on the anniversary of the shooting, the 3rd anniversary of the shooting, and I
Mhm.
did it because of mindset. I actually was waiting. I'm not going to say we rushed it, but what we did was I just said, hey, my priority right now is this. My priority is the
Right.
book. And so that was the thing. I had a friend help me out with that. She mentored me about books, but I feel like I have many, many books. So it's not, it was the first of many. Um, but I thought it would release probably like around now. And instead, I was like, hey, let's see if we can get this pushed because I'd
Mhm.
love to have it come out love to have the release date happen on that anniversary. Um, the other thing is the Show Up to Win podcast. So I believe showing up to win is more than just showing up in attendance. I believe it's showing up with intention and being present. I think that's where a lot of people miss the showing up part is just they like, I can just show up, just be there. No, that doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really work in life. Eventually, I think the coaching industry, the gurus get it wrong. They don't know everything, and I think some of them are just regurgitating stuff that just doesn't make sense. And so that's the thing
Okay.
is that's the so show up to win is that it's not about winning games and championships because I believe this thing. I don't believe we lose anything. Those are all lessons. I always tell people when we like during the game or we lost the
Mhm.
game, I would always say we just ran out of time and we didn't score enough points. That's it. I take
Mhm.
that and I apply it to the next game. And so that's the same thing with life. Everything's a lesson. And so that's I think I rounded up everything. So the podcast is about spotlighting other people with resilient stories. I get to learn from them. They get to share it on my platform. But also they're able to be heard. There's so many people out there that just feel unheard, unseen, unloved. And if I can do that through my podcast, I feel like that's going to be a great life.
They can come to a place where they can be seen, where they can be heard, where they can be loved, and also where they can find rhythm. Because as you speak and you talk about hip hop and the music, you had me at the beginning when you shared the secret sauce in terms of the dribble, and I could sort of like see the dribbling and how that can be something that it's wonderful for the body in terms of incorporating it. It's a wonderful thing. Mentorship, passing it on.
Yes, that's
Something
the
that
other thing.
that yeah, something that was that Mr. Turner deposited in you. Definitely, there are young people who would love, love, love to have this message in them. So, you know, much love for that. As we come to a close, one of the things in terms of the intro to your book, someone wrote the forward. And he spoke about what if scenarios. you often would use what if scenarios, but at some point you made a switch. Unpack that for us. What if what?
What if never comes if you're only thinking about what if. So everything now is more when. So just to give you an idea of like, so I believe so much in the law of attraction. I don't use the word I don't know. I like the phrase I don't know. I just call it IDK when I talk to people about it. But like the whole thing is like I'm curious, I'm learning, I'm figuring it out. It's all positive things for the same phrase that other people are just looking at negative and throwing their hands up. So the universe is like, hey, dude, like that doesn't work. Like, how do you want me to facilitate the lesson or whatever you're wanting? And so I think that's the other part is we just have to like turn the dial like how a radio just refine tune stuff. And so that's what I do with my words. I'm very simple. A lot of my things are come from like ancient, I think of like ancient civilization stuff. Like they
Mhm.
didn't have to worry about being a public speaker, getting on Zoom and being on podcasts, right? They were worried about food, water, shelter, stay safe. And so that's the thing is when we get into our limited beliefs and those type of things, that's the way that it had to be back then. We just evolved so much that those things are they stop us from doing some of these complex things because the biggest fear was being ostracized from the tribe.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at it from that standpoint, there you go. And that I think that's the main thing is like I just take those my words, my phrases, and whenever before I speak them, because when you speak them, they become existence. They're a thought. So that's the thing is I feel like once I learned that, I was like, okay, but you also have to be mindful and aware when you do stuff. And I think that's the other aspect that a lot of people they're like, oh, it was a mistake, or but the mistake can be a lesson. And so that's what I've done is like I just reframe everything to where now it works out positively for me, and it works. Here's the thing: the universe works everything in your favor at all times. So going through the shooting, the misdiagnosis, all these things, the not being married, so I've never been married, no kids, all these type of things. But when I look at it, all these things are going to work out in my favor.
Yes.
I don't know when or how, but I'm in the season of allow.
Season of allow. I have another word for you. I
Okay.
have some secret sauce too. That phrase, I don't know, just add the word yet at the end of it. I don't know, comma, yet. In other words, you're on a trajectory and eventually you are going to know. All right. Any last thoughts? Any last ideas that you would like our listeners to know?
Yeah. So I believe in these two things. I believe that people need to begin whatever you're thinking about, and you like want to start the business, you want to start school, you want to start a podcast. You have to begin. Beginning is the most important thing. But there's another step, and that's either planning it and getting a mentor, or you can get a mentor and then they can help you create the plan. Either way, that's the next steps. But the first step is begin. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week, next year, because guess what? All that stuff happens to be never. And don't want that for any of the listeners. I want you guys to be able to accomplish all your dreams. So my last thought is just begin.
Begin, begin. And how's your niece doing? Is she doing okay?
Yeah, so my niece is fine. She'll be 7 here in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited.
Okay.
And so, um, she hasn't seen there hasn't been any reaction, all those type of things. So that's good, and I'm glad. That was the other part in my heart of hearts. I just prayed and said, God, please, like, showed her, and ultimately, right now, that's what's happening.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, Dwayne Morton, I want to just thank you for being my guest on today's show, showing us how we can, through our breath work, how we can, through our actions, and an attitude of gratitude, make some positive changes in our life in terms of how we see things. And the lesson learned is we need to begin. And we need to find ourselves a mentor, someone who can speak life into us at those moments and then turn it around and give it back and throw it back. Just as you are doing now in the manifestation of your life in all of these entrepreneurial ventures. So, Dwayne, thank you so much for being with me. To my listeners, I would love to say to you that I am excited to have a book of my own. I am teaming with the Dear Black Woman brand, where each of us, 16 women, we have come together and we have put a chapter in the book. Oh my goodness. We are doing pre-order sales at this point. The book will be released in September at a gala in Atlanta. We are excited to bring these inspirational words to you. 16 women writing letters, notes, love songs to our younger selves, everything we've been through, what we've overcome and how we are winning. Thank you once again for the podcast about this life. Contact us, follow us. We are on YouTube, About This Life podcast. You have to include podcasts in that. And I'm on IG, About This Life _ Anne Marie, where on About This Life, we are changing our lives one day at a time. Take care, everyone.